first-person exploration game where players traverse an abandoned civilization using a powerful form of flight. In Rhea, players will restore the civilization to unlock new areas and to discover what happened to the people of the civilization. Rhea is being developed using UDK for the PC with use of the Xbox 360 controller and the Oculus Rift. This semester, we focus on creating 3 unique areas which are all interconnected in our open world. Our main emphasis was to create our core game mechanics and interactions within the world unique to each area so that each one provides its own challenge. To talk a little bit about the specifics of gameplay is our lead designer, Riley Peach.
Hey guys, as Colleen said, I'm Riley Peach, Rhea's lead designer. So let's just talk straight about the gameplay. What you do in Rhea is you go through the civilization, and through the use of ether, as defined by Aristotle, an element lighter than all other elements, you use that primary element to restore the civilization to its former glory. You do that through a method of manipulating it and fighting against it and with it to bring the civilization back to what it once was. A lot of the things that we do to achieve that are done through interactions with the artifacts and pieces of the civilization that are left behind. In an area like this, a marketplace that once was in the middle of the city hub, you can find different pieces of the civilization that have fallen apart and perhaps use some of them to achieve new things in the area. This connects a lot of our spaces, both through the narrative and through our systems, which has a really nice cohesive touch to it when you are doing things in one area that directly affect another. As Baldur here grabs different artifacts that stand out in the marketplace, what he's able to do is unlock a new area that he's able to enter and seamlessly move to. One great thing that we've achieved this semester is no loading screens throughout the entire open world. We have really large environments, but we're able to go through all of them without any loading screens, which is a really nice luxury to be able to seamlessly move back and forth and never break that immersion. So in an area like this, as you travel through, you learn a lot about the civilization, and we reinforce a lot of mechanics that get progressively more difficult depending on where you are. And we're able to work with the player and kind of use those things, and there are new things that become available to them if they apply their knowledge from the use of mechanics in one area to another, and maybe find things that they wouldn't have normally discovered. So this is the swamp, the religious center of Rhea's civilization. This intro area is a great example of what we can give the player in a non-linear fashion. This isn't really crucial, kind of following this wisp around and seeing what is to be done here. It's not crucial completing the linear objective of the space, which there is one, but it does offer a lot of opportunities for the player to be rewarded for their ingenuity in using the systems at play. Well, is able to pick things up, move them around, and restore beauty to the space, as well as perhaps unlock some new areas, or make the linear path that he soon will follow a lot easier. As you know, we've been developing with the Oculus Rift, which has been really great to use and offered a lot of design opportunities for us to create encounters that are rich in a perspective that you can't get in a non-virtual reality space. It's posed a lot of design challenges, though, that we have really enjoyed facing because it requires a lot of give and take with the user, who sometimes isn't accustomed to that kind of gameplay experience. Another big challenge that we faced is our systems, as they iterate through the semester, change a lot, and sometimes the level design doesn't have the opportunity to react and reflect that. So what we've done is really adapted to the development of our flight system, but even so, in second semester, we plan to integrate our spaces to really embrace all of our systems to a much deeper level. I'm going to pass this off to Niels Kerner-Safrada, our art director, to talk about the visuals in Rhea.
Hey guys, my name is Niels, I'm the art director. Thank you very much. So this is the swamp that's been touched on. So this is the spiel I sort of gave a few weeks ago, but I'll introduce you again to Rhea Art World. Essentially, it's a Greco-Roman style. the architecture and the civilization sort of followed. And then through the advancement of Ether, they sort of had some more advanced sort of technological abilities. So now you have some more impressive structures. So there's 3 areas of the game: the city center, the crystal caverns, and the swamp. And so each one has sort of their own feel through different lighting and different effects. But most of the assets used in each scene are sort of modular, and we've sort of done this to scope down the game and allow us to reuse stuff throughout different areas, which is really nice. So I'll talk sort of about what we've done on the team through UDK's material systems and that sort of stuff to create this modular system, as well as sort of a game that designers can easily use assets to create this game in spaces quickly. So the first one is the scale-aware textures, which I've talked about before. So the rocks in the scene, for example, can be scaled up and down and still sort of maintain the same texture density. And basically what designers can do is they can block in spaces with huge rocks, but then also use them to sort of scale them down and refine detail, like you see here. There's also move-aware textures, which when you move them, it tiles the texture in a way that you don't really notice it. So you can put like maybe a few pillars beside each other or stairs, and it won't look like you've just copy and pasted the same thing a few times. Vertex painting is another one to add destruction. The temple that you just passed by had a lot of that with moss and sort of destruction texture painted on. So yeah, the Oculus is a lot of fun to design for, but there's a few challenges with it. The primary one being that the player can sort of fly and look anywhere and get really close up to things. And so with that, we have to sort of create high density textures that then when you move away from, don't take much processing power up. So it's been a lot of work to optimize the game, because we have a lot of frame rate issues earlier on in the semester that we're now trying to resolve. But with Oculus, we also get to do a lot of cool things. The spaces are very vertical. We get to have a lot of moments where you can sort of peer over ledges or look up to vast caverns. It's a lot of fun to do that. So we've been working with LCAD, Noman, and Otis on this project. It's been very collaborative, and it's been a lot of fun. And I'll let Balder finish this little puzzle to show one of the set pieces in the game. All right, thanks for your time. I'm going to pass it off to Adrian to talk about engineering.
Thanks, Nielsen. Again, hi, I'm Adrian. I'm lead engineer for Rhea. So for midterm, luckily at that point, engineering was mostly feature locked at that point. So we spent the better part of the last couple weeks really just adding a layer of polish to all of the features that we worked on. So we don't have, we're not ready to show off our secret network multiplayer project yet, but we are going to show off. Hi, Maestros. We are going to show. I'm just gonna point out a few of the nice little things that we've done to really bring the user experience together. Balder's flying around again. We're back at the City Hub for a reason. I want to point out some of the things that we've done with flight in the past couple of weeks. If you remember. A couple weeks ago, flying around kind of looked like a magic carpet ride. We weren't able to integrate pitch and roll too well into our system at that point. And it sounds kind of obvious, why wouldn't we do that in the first place? It was a little challenging with the getting that part just right for the Oculus. It doesn't. If you don't do it right, it won't feel natural while you're wearing a head-mounted display. So, although you can't see it now, we finally got that bit down. We've got pitch and roll. It feels much more like you're the one doing the flying, and not like you're riding a magic carpet. A couple other things with flight. We've kind of shifted philosophies a little bit in terms of how the flight mechanic works. Before we were going for more of an unpowered glider feel. We found that wasn't very intuitive for players, so now we've kind of got more of a semi-powered flying feel. And I'm not just splitting hairs. It means that if a player wants to gain speed, we found that it was intuitive for them to want to swoop down and swoop back up and expect to gain more height. Well, now they can do that. So, kind of a semi-powered feel. Other bits of polish when it comes to flying. We've been touching up the wind sounds. And although you can't feel it right now, if you were to touch Balder's hand, you would feel a little bit of a vibration because we've added haptic feedback to kind of increase the sense of acceleration while you're flying. So Balder's going to wrap it up here. We're going to move into our third area, which we haven't seen yet, called the Crystal Caverns, a space directed by Ryan Monroe. It's come a long way since midterm. So as Balder walks around here, I want to point out some of the subtle things we've done to what can arguably be our main mechanic, which is walking around. You may you may notice there is a slight head bob as we walk, and I guess it's really faint. But we did add footstep sounds, and there is a slight give in your knees when you jump. So we did all these things to kind of make the player feel more like they are the one actually walking around. You know, it's easy to feel if you don't have these things using the Oculus Rift. It's easy to feel like you're just gliding around the floor. So hopefully we've nailed the sense of actually, you know, walking around in virtual reality. So as Balder moves into this next encounter area, we can show off what we've been doing with grabbable objects. I think we talked about it at midterm. The system itself hasn't changed too much, but we've done a lot of touching up in terms of, you know, giving the player the right level of control over objects in the world, and also establishing interesting interactions between the pickable objects and the world itself. So here we can see Balder is using various objects to plug up ether leaks. So here we can see an example of set piece destruction. We're really happy with where destructible assets are, but one of our challenges going into next semester is getting it to feel a little more realistic. So we look forward to tackling that head on. So Balder moves into this next area, kind of stumped. Looks like there's not a clear way forward. But over to the right, there's a miniature version of the path he just crossed. So this is the kind of pickable maze puzzle that we hinted at during midterm. As we can see, whatever Balder does in the miniature version, the real-life big version pops up immediately. So Balder is building his path forward by using pickable objects. This was an encounter that was really fun to design and engineer. Very close collaboration between the level designer Ryan Monroe and the engineer Mehul Middle. Even the things that you mess up will, you know, go into the real world. So next semester we look forward to, you know, more of these types of interesting encounters using our systems. And speaking of next semester, I mentioned we have some work with destructible assets to do. Another project we plan to start next semester is a pretty big metric system. So it sounds kind of weird to say for an exploratory game to use metrics, but everything kind of depends on whether the player is, you know, figuring out the right things to do at the right time. So we're gonna look at getting a comprehensive metrics feedback system, so we can that can inform our designs and make the experience all the more pleasant to the player. So as Balder finishes up this puzzle, I'm going to pass it back to Balder.
All right. So on the note of things that we're going to be working on next semester, yeah. First of all, we're doing metrics because a lot of our level design is sort of where do players fail, where do they succeed, and just looking at, you know, what are they pressing all the time? Do they understand what we're doing? Do they get flustered midair? But also Riley was touching upon this. And Andrew even mentioned it. You see a lot of walking today. You know, our game's a lot about flying, but we decided for the first half, you know, this first semester, it would be really rough for level designers to iterate on a mechanic that is already being iterated on. So we decided to put off the more significant flying portions and work on those next semester. So what you see today will be, I guess, they will have flying sections interspersed throughout, sort of breaking up everything. Also, we are going to be focusing a lot on narrative. Our artists were very busy just doing like these basic pieces, right? Or at least these vital pieces. And so now that we have our spaces constructed, we can lean on them to create, props to create our environmental narrative. Other than that, as far as design is concerned, it's really keeping in mind, because there's not a lot of feedback in this system, you're alone in a world. You're really going to need to know, is whatever I'm doing as a player, does it have an effect? And we have to keep track of that. We have to show the player that when they do something, it affects the world at large. So we have to focus on these global objectives and showing that whatever changes we make in this Crystal Caverns area will somehow affect the other areas of the world too. Oh no. That's it.
I want this technology to be real.
Again, we're Team Rhea. Thank you guys. That's it for us.